Hey people, I'd just like to weigh into a story that I've just read. I've already made a video tonight, but I'd like to make this one because it relates to some general issues which I'd like to talk a bit about. So basically, this relates to a serious crime that's just happened in the UK, in Wales. A little girl was murdered. So we're talking about child murder here, which is a very serious issue. April Jones, little 5-year-old girl. Well, basically, the story goes that some idiot, I think in Lancashire, but I'm not sure exactly where, apparently posted some very tasteless jokes, so-called jokes, on his Facebook page about this murder. And this has spiraled sort of out of control. The guy claims he'd done it when he was drunk, and he found the idea on a site called Wikipedia, which I don't know much about, but I believe it inspires sick jokes. But what followed was apparently a mob of 50 at least turned up at this guy's house, and he's subsequently been arrested, and he's being charged with I don't know actually what the charge is, but he's actually been given a custodial sentence of 6 weeks, I believe. So I'd just like to weigh in here on some of my thoughts on the issue. I've just come off a forum and seen some pretty disgusting comments, such as he should be tortured to death, he should have his eyes gouged out, he should be etc, etc, etc. Some very, very hateful comments. First of all, what's my views on this guy? Well, he says he was drunk, that's no excuse. What he said was disgusting. I think joking about murder, any murder is bad, but especially the murder of a child, so he should be thoroughly ashamed of himself for doing that. And he really needs to sort out his values. Well, clearly he doesn't have many. But to make a joke about that is pretty disgusting and very hurtful, I'd imagine, for the victims' families. He also joked about Madeleine McCann, who was his famous missing child case. But I believe jail is excessive, and I'll tell you why I believe jail is excessive. I believe that is a misuse of what a custodial sentence should be, and it sets a very dangerous precedent. If we're going to lock up people every time they say something tasteless or stupid or make a bad joke, then you're going to have half the nation locked up. You're going to have a situation that starts a very dangerous precedent. Let's be clear about this. This was his own Facebook page, and it was not any threats, violent threats against any individual. He was making a tasteless joke about something he really shouldn't have been joking about. But I believe a jail sentence is far too excessive, and it sets a dangerous precedent. As for this lynch mob, well, that's no doubt they're tabloid readers, because they almost always are. Looking at some of the comments, a lot of people were saying, oh, it was 50, it should have been 500, they should have torn him to pieces, etc, etc, etc. You know, that sort of vigilante justice brutalizes society. It has no place in any sort of civilized society. And people were saying, you know, I was backing up one other person who was saying that was out of order, and I mean the lynch mob was excessive. I was backing him up because I felt, you know, a lot of these people were really justifying it. And I don't think you can balance out a lynch mob baying for blood with a stupid, tasteless and insulting comment. I think, you know, it makes me very unsettled when you have that sort of vigilante justice. For one thing, vigilantes often get the wrong people. They get the wrong address, they get the wrong people. They haven't stopped to consider that even if this guy deserves it, his family maybe were at home, they didn't deserve it. They had to take him to another house for his protection. What does this say about society, that social media can engineer people to be stirred up into this violent anarchy over an idiot who's made very tasteless comments? Now, I do think he should be punished to some extent. I think he should do community sentence or something like that. because his comments weren't, it's more than freedom of speech. What he was doing was deliberately trying to stir things up, and deliberately, I mean, he should be thoroughly ashamed of himself, and he should apologise to the families if they found out about it. And the irony is, they probably didn't even need to know about this, but because it's been publicised, then they have. If you think it's justified to tear someone to shreds because of something they've said, not done, then you need to examine your mindset. We all get angry, and of course, if that was my daughter, I'd think the guy was a scumbag, and I'd probably be saying we should be in jail. But I really think the families are the only people who have a right to want personal harm against him, and so far I haven't heard anything from the families. But the people who turned up at his house, they're thugs. That's all there is to it. They're not decent people, they're thugs. And people are justifying it, saying, oh, they're just normal people who have children. Well, there's a lot of normal people who have children who don't react like that. It's best to not give these idiots the attention they crave. There's also double standards. The comedian known as Frankie Boyle, who's very popular in the UK, has come out with things equally as disgusting as what this guy has said, and yet you don't see these people calling for Frankie Boyle to be put in jail. And I'll put a link to this story on the video so you know the context of what I'm talking about. But there's double standards here. If we're going to say that people should be jailed for offensive jokes, then you're going to have a lot of stand-up comedians in jail. Now, I think they're creeps. I think Frankie Boyle's disgusting. Yet the irony is, these same people would probably be defending him. That's total hypocrisy. It just troubles me the number of people who are influenced by, obviously, tabloids stirring things up. It frightens me, to be honest. It makes me very unsettled that people can be so guided by that sort of bloodlust. I mean, I'm no bleeding heart when it comes to crime. I believe in tough justice. I believe gangs should be thrown up and the key thrown away. I'm no bleeding heart, and if my daughter was murdered, I'd want the killer's blood, no doubt about it. But you cannot use anger to coerce justice alone. Anger alone cannot be used to guide justice, and justice must be in the courts. Now, the British justice system can greatly improve. It's a flawed system, and it's not fair in my opinion. It can greatly improve, but nevertheless, justice must be in the courts. If these people really have a problem with that, then they should petition their MPs to change the law or something. But to form a vigilante mob, they should be ashamed of themselves. That doesn't help anyone. Do they think it's going to bring the little girl back? It won't. It just makes me very unsettled. I mean, I saw some of the comments on this site, basically. In fact, I'll give a link. I'll give a link to this forum to show you what I'm talking about, if I can. To see where I'm coming from. I mean, some of the comments there were positively sadistic. And I've seen similar things before, whereby a stupid student urinated on a war memorial, and goodness knows that stirred a lot of people up. And again, there was the sort of sadistic comments about lynching him and so on. And it troubles me that as a society, so many people can have this sort of mentality. It does trouble me that so many people could be so stupid and so influenced by the tabloids, and then they say, oh, but if you were, what if that was you? If that was me, if that was my daughter, I'd be furious. Of course I would. But that's not the point. The point is, as a society, we cannot reduce ourselves to this. We cannot reduce ourselves to vigilante justice. And, you know, there's been many examples in the UK where innocent people have been falsely targeted. I remember a few years ago there was a child murder case, and they're always the ones that provoke the most sort of reaction. And in that case, the accomplice to the killer, a woman called Maxine Carr, there was actually a period in Britain where women who resembled Maxine Carr, who resembled her, were attacked on the grounds that they looked like her, because some pond life, some ignorant people targeted them because they think, oh, it was Maxine Carr. And it really pisses me off that people could be so thoroughly stupid, they just can't think. And then you get examples where people have a similar name to a killer or a paedophile or a rapist, they're targeted. We had a case a while back where the tabloids named and shamed paedophiles. That was very dangerous because it ended up with a lot of innocent people targeted. It's very dangerous. I think this guy should be ashamed for what he wrote. Maybe he should do a community sentence, but jail is excessive because it sets an unhealthy precedent whereby anything offensive could then be construed as, oh, jail them, because it's offended society. That's dangerous. In a democracy, freedom of expression is absolutely paramount. And if you disagree with that, then piss off to somewhere which crushes freedom of expression, because it troubles me that people can be so unthinking, so they're no better than this guy. The guy that posted the comments, the people that turned up at his house really are no better in my opinion. It just troubles me. I really hope people can see where I'm coming from with this, because I don't think it's healthy for society. Vigilante justice almost always has flaws because quite often it targets the wrong person. And it goes on hearsay. And the pond life who join vigilante mobs really have no excuse for doing it. It's very cowardly, it's very... And they're not bringing the little girl back. They think they're some sort of moral warriors. They're really not. Quite often vigilante mobs, a lot of them are criminals themselves. So it's total hypocrisy. As a society, we really can't reduce ourselves to this. Justice should be in the courts. Justice should be fair, it should be tough, but it should be in the courts. Otherwise, you have society collapsing. That's my views. Okay, cheers.